You're listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast, the show that helps you build wealth faster, think outside the box, and break out of the herd. Here's your host, Jim Oliver.
Welcome back, Breakaway Wealth. I'm your host, Jim Oliver, and with me today, Ben Reinberg. Ben, welcome.
Jim, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. And this is called the sequel, isn't it?
It is the sequel. We've talked before.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have you reintroduce yourself to the audience. And then we're just going to get back into like, hey, how do I make money right now? What do I do? What are you guys doing? And let's talk about just mindset of like, I know everybody, this may air like after the election. And so the apocalypse may have started, maybe not. Just kidding. But like, let's just talk about how do you make money regardless of what's going on around you. And, you know, I remember your background. Again, I said I was going to have you introduce yourself, but like with your background and your system and the things that you guys are doing some unique things that I think, you know, again, it doesn't matter what's happening around you. All you can control is what's happening, what you're doing, and you can still be successful in every market, in every condition. So before we jump into that, let's go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are, what you're about, and what you're doing.
Just real quickly, Ben Reinberg. I'm the founder and CEO of Alliance Consolidated Group of Company. We are experts, Jim, as you know, in commercial real estate. We own and manage office, industrial, retail, now multifamily. We do hard money lending as well. We just opened that division. And then we're one of the leaders in the United States owning medical and veterinary office throughout the United States. And so we have a new fund, the Alliance Medical Fund. It's doing really well. We're raising equity for it. With that being said, we're fiduciary of capitals. We raise money from high net worth accredited investors, as well as family offices, money that invest in our projects, our funds, our syndications, you name it. So I am a commercial real estate expert. I've been doing it for 3 decades. I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but I've been in the business a long time. I'm one of the leaders in the business. I write a newsletter, which is now a blog, out to hundreds of thousands of people. I have my own TV show, which is Ben Reinberg. I own it. It's a spinoff of our podcast, which is also a podcast as well. And we're filming season 2 this week up in Los Angeles. So I'm really excited. And new season is called Obsessed. First season was Leverage. And so really excited about that. And what I do is I give back. I give back a lot of my knowledge. That's kind of my charity, is I want to give back my knowledge to give a legacy. Tell people if they want to get into commercial real estate, they want to learn how to build wealth, help them improve in business, or be able to have a holistic approach to business with their health, et cetera. So I talk a lot about that, whether it's on my show or on podcasts, et cetera. And so one thing you touched on, which I thought was really interesting, is like what you need to do in this environment. And so I'm going to give everyone a little nugget that they can take home with, because this is important. We're in an interesting environment, especially in commercial real estate. There's trillions of dollars of loans that are coming due in 2025, Jim, that I feel are going to rock this economy.
Yeah.
And if we don't make sure this economy starts flowing soon in the right direction, this could be an issue, because it will trickle down to different sectors in business. And so it's really important, if you're out there, and let's say you're young or you're a man or woman, you're in business and you're listening to this show, you want to build your resilience, okay? And you want to amplify your focus. So let me talk about what that really means. Building up your resilience is really working on yourself. It's being confident in your ability, and it's making sure you stay emotionally balanced, because we're going through tough times right now. There's some people that are out of work. There's some people that are worried about inflation, putting groceries on the table, the price of gas. Inflation is at 20% since 2021. That's a huge number.
Yeah.
And so we see the cost of insurance. You're in Florida, people's insurance rate, their gas bills, everything has gone up significantly. So how do you live? So you have to build your resilience. You have to know we're in a tough market. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. And that you're going to be able to carry yourself. So you might have to tighten your belt a little bit. You might have to sacrifice some of the things that you love to get through this environment. but you want to amplify your focus. If you're in business, whether you're a business owner, you're an employee, you're an entrepreneur, you're in corporate, whatever it is, you want to amplify your focus. You want to be diligent. You want to really double down and focus on becoming the expert you want, to maybe put in a little bit longer hours to be able to deal with the challenges going on. I always felt in this environment, I love, because when chaos is brewing, that's where I thrive.
Hmm.
And I double down. I work extremely hard. I might work long hours if I have to, but I really start increasing my focus, Jim. And so if you could do that, what ends up happening is opportunities come around. Uh, you end up improving your position in the marketplace by putting in a little bit more time. And so in these tough times and environments, I suggest everyone roll up your sleeves, get to work, and we'll get through this together. And we always do. We always do. This shall pass. My
Yeah.
father used to say it best, when tough times happen, this shall pass. And
Yeah.
if you know things are going to pass, it's a good time. So it's a really good time to improve your skill set. It's a good time to work hard, double down, network, spend more time if you have to within your business if you need to. And so those are a few things that I would suggest to kind of deal with what's going on in the environment and how you can get through with flying colors.
No, I love that. You know what? It's funny because I was just talking to somebody about a great book called that from Dan Sullivan, 10x is easier than 2x.
Hmm.
And I know that this is the way that you already think, but like 2x is just keep doing the same things you're doing, just do it harder. 10x, you gotta amplify your focus, you gotta amplify your vision, you gotta amplify your thinking and your mindset, and you got to think differently, right? To do 10x, you can't keep doing the same shit you're doing and just do it harder, faster, longer. You have to think differently. But let's go back to inflation for a second, because one of the things that I think is really important is when you're talking about buying assets like commercial real estate or industrial real estate, medical, is look, those are assets.
Hmm.
And when the government is debasing our money and printing more of it, and it's going down in value, that means your instruments that are just sitting there, your savings, your CD, your whatever, those instruments are going down in value. But
Hmm.
the assets are doing what? Talk
Well,
about that. Talk about,
yeah.
that
Great.
that really inflation is a stealth tax.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you're saying we've been taxed 20% per
Yep.
year on
Yep.
top of everything else the last 3 years. And talk about how after 30 years of buying assets, how that can help combat that inflation.
Well, it's a phenomenal topic and a great question. I appreciate it, Jim, because it's something that should be on everyone's mind. It's why the Alliance Medical Fund, our fund, is doing so well. Investors are coming in through the droves. Why? Because I saw this for a few years and I saw it for months. We analyze inflation. If the government's reporting 9, it was like 14 at the time.
Yeah.
And so we saw that and we said, well, what can produce returns over a long period of time? Well, commercial real estate, what we do as a company at Alliance, helps solve and alleviate that issue. At least if I could break even or make money based on inflation, I'm going to invest in commercial real estate. I'm going to get tax benefits through our investments. And if I could generate, my track record on medical is 24% internal rate of return. So that will outpace inflation. Our overall portfolio is in the upper 20s on an IRR basis. So I'm fairly confident if I could at least hit high teens on internal rate of return on an investment, I'm doing okay. I'm
Yeah.
keeping up with inflation. I'm keeping at pace. I'm making sure I'm protecting my capital. And so that's what I love about one of our niches, medical properties, is because the human body is never going out of style. It's a foundation for a solid tenant base where they have high percentage of renewal rates on their leases. And what that does, Jim, it provides a safe, secure, and profitable return. So why I invest in hard assets, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, what we do is recession and pandemic resilient in medical office and one of our niches. The other thing is I get great tax benefits. I get current cash flow. I want to get current cash flow on my money, especially in an inflationary type situation we're in this country. And so, no matter what the environment is, if you find the right niche in commercial real estate that produce cash flow and will produce profitability when you sell it, whether you sell a fund or individual assets, that's the way you can manage inflation, is investing in hard assets. It's what I love. It's one of my largest asset classes in my portfolio. I invest in what we do. I'm a big believer of it. And what's nice is the tax benefits. I mean, the
Mhm.
fact that I'm able to invest capital and have taxes reduced on my cash flow because the United States government has favorably given us tax benefits with depreciation and interest expense and property taxes at the property level. It's a tremendous benefit. Now, no one really talks about that because if you include that final calculation, guess what? Your return's higher. And now you're really keeping up with inflation. So, hard assets to me is a great alternative investment. It's a great investment to diversify your portfolio. I encourage everyone in top of your stocks, bonds, and your crypto and everything that you do out in the world, you should have a slice of hard assets, especially commercial real estate.
Oh, I love that. I mean, here's the thing is like when I'm sitting there thinking to get those kinds of returns, just say the high teens, forget about numbers
Sure.
higher than that, just the high teens.
Sure.
And you can do that and you can, again, I'm going to use another Dan Sullivan book. Maybe he'll give me a plug or something, but another book of his and Benjamin Hardy is Who Not How, right? You can go out and try to figure this out, but I don't have 30 years to go learn this stuff.
Yep.
If I can partner with you, the who,
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to figure out the how, then I immediately if I think of that and if I think of it as, I always hate that word passive, but like
Yep.
if I think of it as I'm not going to be an active guy trying to figure it out, do it on my own, find the properties, do all this stuff, and I can get high teens. I mean, look, and you're buying assets and you're getting cash flow
Yep.
and the tax benefits, like you said, all of a sudden you start really adding up what my rate of return is and my impact on my wealth, right? And my stress level and everything else is it's phenomenal. And in everybody that is, if you're in Florida and
Mm-hmm.
you listen to people say, oh, commercial real estate, people are going to be working from home, blah, 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 blah. Well, they're building a ton of buildings every place they can put one.
That's right.
And so why are they doing that? They're not doing it so they can sit
Population growth.
empty.
No, it's population growth. It's supply and demand. It's all economics. One thing you said is so smart. It's true. Is you want to invest in smart money. So
Yeah.
when you invest in Alliance, okay, I'll give you what smart money. Forget about my experience. We have 200 plus years of leadership team experience. We have a lot of experienced people working in this company, and they're giving white glove service 7-star experience to investors. And so you want to invest in smart money. You want to invest with people that are solution oriented, Jim, that could solve challenges, especially in commercial real estate. Commercial real estate is a sophisticated game. So I'm in the pinnacle and the premier point of my career. I'm in the prime right now of my
Mhm.
career because you slowly build up your experience level and you get to a certain level where it really becomes lethal. You can get through deals quickly. You can see what works, what doesn't work, because you've been through enough experiences, enough economic environment and recessions and interest rate hikes that you know how to value real estate and the what ifs and protecting the downside of the investors. And so when you can protect the downside, the upside will always take care of itself.
Yeah.
And so you want to invest in smart money. You want to invest in, especially in hard assets. If you're going to invest, you want someone that's helping you mitigate tax benefits. I'm also a CPA, so I work with my staff and our accounting department and our CPAs outside the firm to be able to mitigate taxes for our investors. That's huge. It's hard to
Huge.
do these things on your own. I don't, why people say, well, why do you suggest to invest passively? There's a couple things. One, you'll learn, you'll get on the learning curve, you'll see what we do, you'll see the communication, you'll absorb knowledge. Number two is it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, I see what my property management division does every single day. Look at your neighborhood in Florida. We have a big portfolio in Florida, checking our properties, checking on our tenants, making sure any debris or trees are down. How do we deal with it? We own properties all over the United States. And so the nice thing for investors, you could diversify into what we do. You could be passive. You don't have to deal with the BS and the headaches that go on in managing and operating and dealing with tenants and having relationships. It's a full-time business. If you get into commercial real estate, okay, and you're not in the water full time, you're going to lose. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And I'm here to make people money. I'm here to educate. And that's why we do what we do. And that's why we're really good at it. We have a good track record. It's a very sophisticated game, and to leverage yourself, I always use the word leverage into a
Love
group
it.
like Alliance or comparable is a huge thing to do because let me give you another example. Let's just say you own a manufacturing company. Let's say you're in Chicago, my former hometown, and you are making widgets. Well, why would you take on your own commercial real estate portfolio when you should be doubling down on that manufacturing business to grow your EBITDA and hopefully potentially have a successful exit? So I'm a big proponent of focus on your expertise. Our expertise at Alliance and myself is commercial real estate. I don't go and start shopping bonds. I don't go and start selling stocks to people. That's not my expertise. I don't even go and tell people certain asset classes of commercial real estate we don't do. But at the end of the day, you get rewarded for focus. So everyone out there listening, okay, especially if you're a young man or woman entrepreneur, this is a really huge thing that I want you to hear. Life will reward you for focus. I see a lot of kids out there, they're scattered. They're looking at different businesses, they're trying this, they're trying that. People are like, "Well, I have 8 companies at the same time." Is that productive? I mean, pick a niche, become an expert, and then as you become an expert, if you have other classes within that organization to help feed revenue, then yeah, maybe you have subsidiary businesses to do that with it. Even me, it's like I'm not an expert in digital assets. Okay, I love it. I'm learning. My oldest son is in the business, in the blockchain business, but I invest with someone that does that for me
Yeah.
and invest. It's the same thing. It's like you wanna you don't you when you have cardiac situations, you hire a cardiologist. When you have orthopedic situation, you hire orthopedic surgeon if you need to. So everyone has a place in the world to thrive and make millions. Figure out your niche. And so that's why I recommend it's like if you're going to invest in commercial real estate, we welcome you. We'll qualify you. We'll make sure a good fit for us and we're a good fit for you. It's a long-term relationship. People don't like to leave once they're in our universe. And so take a step back and say, if you're out there and you do have disposable income, say, what are you doing with your investment capital to get back to your inflation thing? But also to take another route is make sure that you are focusing on your niche and don't dilute yourself. You want to get into commercial real estate. It's a game that you better get in the deep water, start swimming and learning and risk capital. And you're going to learn. You're going to go through a learning curve. And so that's why people want to invest passively.
I love that. So a couple things there, that you touched on is, it reminds me, it's 2 lessons from 2 books. You don't have to go read these books, but it's just 2 lessons. One is buy back your time,
Mhm.
right? And
I
buy
I
back
I
your
just I
time.
just I just read that by Dan Martell.
Yeah.
Great book. I
Yep.
reached out to him and said, "Phenomenal book. Great book."
So like I just fired a personal assistant and I just
Mhm,
hired a new one, right? The
mhm.
first thing I had her do is read this book. She said, "Well, what do you want me to?" I said, "No, no, no. I want you to drop whatever you're doing and I want you to
Yeah,
read this
I
book
like that. Mm,
because this is what we're going to do. This
yeah,
is going to be your job. This is your
yep,
job description
yep,
is to do all of the things so that I can focus on the 5% of the things that I need to be doing all the time." But the other thing, so when you're hiring somebody that has expertise, right, that's not trying to come up, you're already there. So it's like,
yeah.
hey, I already know how to do this. I'm just looking
Yeah,
at
I mean,
trying to help people and get bigger, right?
why would you want to I mean, in life, your biggest asset's your time, right?
Exactly.
And
That's yeah.
that's what buyback principle is. It's buying back your time to do
Yes.
other things and do what you do best. The other thing is like, if like, even in commercial real estate, what I do, like, who would wanna get involved in the seat I sit in? I
Right.
mean, I've been doing this for decades. I mean, I could see the grinding that goes on and the people that work for me and the headaches, but the learning curve you gotta go on. So it's like
Yeah.
that's why it's like I like to leverage into experts. It's like I go out and find them. I'm like, "Okay, who is the best insurance agent for this region or out throughout the country to handle our portfolio or to handle flood insurance if we're in Florida or
Yeah.
New Orleans or wherever. And so we're not going to do that, but we're going to find the right horse to jump on that does. And so for everyone, it's like, again, you get rewarded for focus and pick a niche.
I love that. I like that. The rewarded for focus. But so you got buy back your time. The other lesson in a book is invest in what you know
Mhm.
uh, from the richest man in Babylon.
Mm,
Is invest in what you know, right?
mhm.
So if you don't know, then you have to hack somebody else's expertise, your 30
Absolutely.
years. If I can
Absolutely.
hack your 30 years, why wouldn't I?
Right.
It,
Like,
it,
do you do your own dental work? Like,
no, right, exactly, right.
you don't go and start filling a cavity. You go to the best dentist you could find, and that's what you do. It's the same thing going to the doctor. It's the same thing with, if you go to an attorney. Like, we have a lot of attorneys that work in
Yeah.
the Alliance universe,
Yep.
and we have to. And so I have one of the best commercial real estate attorneys in the country, and guess what? That's his expertise. I rely on him. It's like indemnification clauses and all the different terminology in our purchase and sale agreement and leases. It's like I understand it because I've been through enough deals, but I've had to get there. But he's the expert. He analyzes the risk. He analyzes, okay, can we able to obtain this clause or sentence in a lease or a paragraph? And so that's why you hire great people. And what's great about that book, Buy Back Your Time, is it really focuses on hiring the right people to sit in the seats that they could do best, and you don't micromanage them, and you develop process and systems, which he talks about.
Yep.
It's a brilliant book because it's not rocket science, but the fact that he put it on paper
Yeah.
and explained it really well is really impressive. That is a phenomenal book. I encourage everyone to pick it up. It's
Yeah.
by Dan Martell, and he is just a really brilliant guy. I look forward to meeting him soon.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
I was very. It was a good read for me, and it really reiterated some things that even we have to work on. So I'm grateful to read it.
What I really love is, and we talk about being in business, but he says when you get to that pain line, you either
Yep.
sell, sabotage, or stall,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so the you might be there in your investment life because if you're an orthopedic surgeon, like you said, by the way, what I love about attorneys is if you ask that commercial real estate attorney to draw you up an estate plan, he's going to say, I don't do that.
Right. Then no, they don't.
Well,
And
you're
so
an
right.
attorney. I mean, I need an attorney. No, I
Yeah.
don't do
Exactly.
that. Right.
Right. Right.
And
That's right.
so, something else I want to touch on before we kind of start to wrap up is, is you mentioned hard money lending. And I think
Yes.
that when
Uh-huh.
I say that to people, it like I can see they just kind of go, oh no, I would never do that. I'll give you an example of just a small deal that I just did. I think
Uh-huh.
I wish I could do 100 of these a week. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I had a guy who was a real estate investor. He needed money and he needed 300 grand for
Right.
90 days. Right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
he had great collateral. I mean,
Uh-huh.
a property that was probably worth $1 million, fire sale,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
And we put really tough language in there about being late because the one thing I hate to do is I hate to if I think
You
it's a
don't wanna
90-day
chase.
loan, then I don't want it to
Yeah.
be 3 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've been there, done that in my 35 years.
Yep.
So I made 30 grand in 90 days
Mhm.
on a $300,000 loan.
Great return.
Great
Great
return,
return.
right?
You analyze
Everybody
that.
can do the math on that.
IRR is huge. I
Huge.
mean, I could do that quickly, but you know what's great about that? So with our hard money line, it's gonna be commercial real estate. It's gonna be bigger numbers, a
Yeah, I
millions.
love it.
So what's great about that is it serves a need. It's to help people, developers slash commercial real estate investors. What happens in this environment, especially coming up, is people will bankrupt the LLC in order to protect the asset from the lender, and that's happening a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you do that, sometimes you need that bridge lender to come in and say, look, I see the deal. I see they're trying to take the equity in your property. Let's restructure it. And here's the deal. And by the way, you could take us out in a year with a perm loan, conventional lender.
Yeah.
So it has its place in time. and it's needed, especially in our business, especially in this environment. And so we said to ourselves, we said, we've always wanted to be a lender. We understand debt extremely well in my company. And why not go out and help people? Because that's what we love to do. That's what we
Yeah.
do for investors. We build wealth from. So why not help people in our sphere of influence, our commercial real estate community around the country, and say, you know what? We know you're out there. We know there's going to be some tough times. Let us help you, and we'll help you probably even get you out of it with a perm loan if we have to. And so I think it's going to be a really nice division of ours, and we're going to be launching it soon. I'm really excited about it because it's definitely a need and something very interesting. And it's going to lead into my new book, which is coming out in Q5 2025. I won't announce it, but stay tuned for that because it's going to
Awesome.
talk about the hard times and what hard money means and the hard assets that we're looking at. And so, one of the things, Jim, I do is I do a lot of teaching, a lot of mentoring with folks in our business, especially around the country too, that ask me about business. And so having different avenues within the company to help people is really important. It's why we developed the new TV show was to give back to people that want to build wealth, want to learn about business, want to also learn about themselves to help them improve on a holistic basis to grow as a person.
You know, Ben, I think we could probably talk to you for hours because I remember this from last time that we talked. It was like maybe, like it's just there's so many things to talk about.
We need to relaunch the old episode before this one.
You know what, we will. We'll have Heather. We'll launch
Yeah.
both.
Heather, are you listening?
Yeah, Heather, she will be listening. As so something you said, and I just had a great conversation with one of my clients yesterday about this, but how wealth and health go together. And
Yeah.
you're in California, and California has this image of everybody's healthy, right?
Right.
And I think people in Florida, we're outside, we're
Yep.
healthy, but
Yep.
your wealth journey and your health journey, they're both journeys, right? You don't get rich quick, and
Right.
most people don't, and
Right.
you sure as heck don't like lose 50 pounds in a month, or
Mhm.
like at least you shouldn't, or
Right.
put on 10 pounds of muscle in a month. You can, but you're gonna
Right.
have to take some stuff that you probably shouldn't.
Right.
And so like it's a journey. Like I'm 59 years old and
Yeah.
I'm put on like 6 pounds of muscle this year,
Yeah.
and it's not happened overnight, man. And it's
Yeah.
like it's just a little bit, a little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit, a
Right.
little bit.
Yeah.
And by the time I'm 60, which will be in June, I
Uh-huh.
will have defined abs. And you can kind of see them a little bit,
Love
but
it.
I'm gonna have defined abs by
Love
the
it.
time I'm 60.
Yeah.
And it's a journey. But once
It
you're
is.
on that journey,
Yeah.
it's really fun.
Well, I'm into health and wellness, as people know, and biohack and all that stuff. I work out with a trainer 5 days a week. I saw him this morning, and I've gained. It's interesting. When I was in Chicago, I was more functional fitness. I was really lean, but
Yeah.
really, really muscular. Here's a little bit more bodybuilding, what they do, but so I've added about 10 pounds of muscle
Wow.
in the last, I would say, year and a half with my
Yeah.
trainer, Andrew. But and right now I'm cutting, but for me it's a labor of love. You know what it is? It's really what I love about training and working out and eating right and doing the right things. And I don't drink anymore.
Yeah.
And so what's important about all that is it sums up like creating success, which is discipline, focus, being resilient. And so when you show up every day to work out, which I do, and I'm in really good shape. I'm 54,
Yeah.
and I'm in really good shape for a 54-year-old, is I can't see it any other way. It gets my mindset going, it gets me motivated. It says, "Okay, the day's going, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna stress my body and get me going, and then I'm gonna get in the office." And I've been doing I've been doing this since the beginning of my career. And when people ask me like, "What's the secret?" I think that's a big component of that discipline and working out every day and being focused. And people used to make, because back like when I was younger, like people like health clubs were, ballets and stuff, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like now how
No.
abundant things are with gyms and boot camps and all this crap that we got going on and spin studios and Orange Theory and all these things. And so you look at people were like, look at me like, he goes, every day? Like, was he crazy? And now it's like kind of customary where people work out. And so things have changed in our environment, Jim. And it's been a great staple in my career, in my life to work out. I don't think I'm ever going to stop. And it's a priority for me. And what's interesting is someone was telling me about Andy Frisella's 75 hard.
Yeah.
And so now I am 41 days into doing it. And it's great because I really appreciate I love it's not a fitness program. He's right, it's a discipline program.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I love about Andy's program that I've learned was how disciplined am I? I mean, I'm
Right.
very disciplined, but like, when you gotta take the selfie at the end of the night, like, did you do it?
Right.
Did you read your 10 pages, which I'm gonna read? Did you do your 45-minute outdoor exercise? Did you drink a gallon of water? Like, gallon of water became a new thing for me, which I was like, maybe I'm not drinking enough.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to him because it got me thinking about how disciplined am I and who
Yeah.
am I? And so, just a lot of good stuff out there you could do for health and a lot of good things you could do for discipline. And so I encourage everyone, if you're not working out on a regular basis and you really want to develop that routine, it's important. That's why I got into meditation, because I do it every morning before I leave to go train and work on my mind and clear my mind so I could be a good version of myself. Because when I show up to this podcast, and if I can give one person in your audience just a nugget of hope or a nugget of knowledge, I did my job. I'm
Yeah.
great. Well,
Yeah.
how do I do that? I got to prep myself in the morning and even the evening to be able to have an intelligent conversation with you, to add value, to be a good listener, and also communicate well. And so all these things tie together, and you can fight it all you want, but it's when people say, well, it's someone else's fault why I'm not successful.
Right.
It's the environment. No, it's really you. You got to look at yourself. And I'm accountable to myself. I look at myself, I see what I have to work on and I go after it and I work on it. And that's because people ask me all the time, like, what's the secret? It's no real secret. Just do and do the best version you can of yourself every single day and just show up. And I had a lesson taught to me today that I'm very grateful for. I had someone say to me, things I need to work on.
Mm.
And I was grateful. I was like, you know what? She's right. Shit, she's right. I
Yeah.
I I don't like the way I did that. You're right. I'm gonna work on that. And you know what? I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful. And so look, it doesn't matter where you are in your career, it doesn't matter how high you get or low or whatever, is just continue to work on yourself and you'll see great things. And that's gonna help you in your whole life, in your career.
No, I love what you said. You know what? Sometimes when people say, "Hey, you said you have a trainer 5 days a week," and
Yep.
I do. It's funny because I just changed trainers away from a functional
Uh-huh.
trainer to
Mhm.
more bodybuilding
Yeah.
and strength training, and so I love the trainer. Because what it does is it's accountability, but it's
Mhm.
also somebody that you're like strategizing with. Like I know my trainer Jen. Like I'm saying, hey, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. What I really love is the other day I got this because we had the stress of this hurricane and I had a little
Mhm.
PTSD and I
Yep.
got this knot, like this little pinched nerve. And
Mhm.
she does cupping and she stretches me one day a week too for an
Ooh, I
hour.
like that.
And
Ooh, I like that.
so she did that and it's relieved today. It's like such, I
Yeah.
could have just suffered for 3 or 4 days, but you think about the value of your time, right?
Mhm.
And the one thing that we can't get is our time back, right? So
Right.
it's like I wake up every morning at 4:45. I do like this devotional thing with my buddies, and then I read, I meditate, I pray, I get ready for the day. Then I go work out, and in this one gym, this functional gym, they're like, no, we open at 7. That's as early as we open. I'm like, that doesn't work for me, man.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
like, and I was like, wait a minute, why am I changing my schedule
Mhm.
for somebody else?
Yep.
Like, I would work out at 5, but I
Yep.
want to work out with Jen. So and I'm done by 7 o'clock.
Mhm.
I'm ready to roll. And
Yep.
by 8 o'clock, I'm ready. I mean, I'm mentally ready, physically ready. I've fueled my body. I am ready to go.
Yep.
And in my system, I want to work really hard from 8 to noon on the important things. Like if I look at my ideal week from, it's not just from his book, but he talks about your ideal week. That's my important, like, client meetings, everything else, 8 to noon. Then record podcasts, do all that kind of stuff in the afternoon, which is just fun. And it's like, not like I could do this all day long, just like you could. Right. And it's not like taking energy, right? It's this, I mean, there's energy involved, but it's not draining my energy. This actually lifts my energy. And so by the end of the day, at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever time that I'm done, I actually feel just as good as I did first thing in the morning, because I've refueled that energy in my mindset and getting people to share stuff like you that's adding. It's not an energy vampire. It's adding to my energy, right? Whether you're introverted or extroverted, you got to fuel that energy.
Yeah, you do. And so I'm a big proponent of do what works for you, whatever workouts you want and to focus, but taking care of your health is so important. And it's obviously in this environment, more people are working out, looking at their health. There's more education out there. So it's a lot more advantageous, Jim, than when we were kids. I mean, we were kids. I mean, like, I'm a big candy guy, Slurpees and candy was my thing when I was a kid. And so, people don't smoke as much, except for in Europe, but, it's, we live in a different world, and really doing what you can to position yourself as the best version of yourself is going to go a long way. And part of that is working on your health. And it's not just your physical health, it's your mental health too. It's really working on yourself and being honest with yourself and accountable to yourself. And so what I love about training 5 days a week, and I work out 7, I'll do different workouts, is not only does it challenge me, but also it's that discipline and it's the ability to feel good, like you get a win. I just got done working out today. It's a huge win. Now I'm on Jim Oliver's great podcast, another win. One of the things I see, like what I didn't do when I was younger, and people don't, is they don't celebrate the great things that happen throughout the day and look back and say, man, that was a good day. Instead, it's like the one thing that went wrong: tenant moves out of building, doesn't appraise outright, you lose money, or employee quits. That's a key employee of yours. Whatever might be the issue out there that you have, we always gravitate to that one negative thing instead of looking and saying, well, I had that one negative thing, but I had like 6 great things happen to me. And as a human being, I think all of us lose focus on that. I think that's what all of us need to focus on and think about is we're only on this we're only on this planet for a limited amount of time. So it's like, let's make the best of it. So why not have your mindset like, great, I got some great wins today.
It's that gratitude, man. I mean, that's exactly what you're talking about. And I don't care, like, Dan Sullivan does a thing where, he didn't invent this. He's like you said about Dan Martell, it's like he just put it down, or just put it in a system, is write down 3 things every night that you're grateful for in a journal right by your bed. And if you do that for 90 days, you cannot help but change your mindset. You can't. I mean, it just happens. It's just like working out. If you're lifting weights, you can't help but get stronger. I mean, you can fight it. You can say, no, I'm doing 50-pound dumbbells every time. But pretty soon you're going to go, well, I think I'll try the 55. I mean, like, I always want to push myself probably to the opposite thing where I'm like, okay, now I kind of tweak something. But, it's funny because as we get older and we like learn that our health is so important, is I promise you, when I'm 75, I'll be hitting the golf ball just as far as I do today, or further, because I'll figure out how to do it better and I'll get stronger. And I don't have any doubt in my mind. And so it's, as we get better in business, we get better in all of these different things. Confidence is a skill set. You learn how to be more confident, and it's through preparation, like you said. And it's funny because I'm not even going to ask you the 2 questions I always ask people, because you've already given. I know there's another book, and you can mention it if you want, but like we've talked about some great books, and and
Ask me a
you've already
question.
endorsed buy back
Well,
your time, and that's one that
well,
nobody's ever endorsed
that's
on the
one.
show. So I love that.
But what was the question about the book? I'll answer it because it's
Is
more.
if God came down from heaven
Yep.
and only allowed you to retain the knowledge from one book that you've read, what would it be?
I'm reading a book, and I was telling you earlier that ego is the enemy.
Yeah,
There's so many little tidbits in there that get you thinking, okay, about how did I deal with this situation, or what can I do better, or why do we do things a certain way? If I can go back in time, that's a book I wish I would have read in my 20s. I don't know if it
yeah.
was around or not, but that would have been a good book to read in my 20s. There's some really key things that they talk about. So that would be definitely a book I would want to read.
I love that. The thing is, I think that when you're in your 20s, right, you're trying to build your confidence. You're trying to let everybody know how good you are.
Yeah.
And then when you're in your 50s, you don't
Yeah.
care if anybody. It's like you don't have to show somebody that you're strong, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
like it's evident, and it's like you're not trying
yeah.
to prove something. And I
Well,
think that's one thing about that book that I remember when I read it is it's like I always I always think people that are trying to tell you how good they are at something,
yeah.
like greatness doesn't, you don't have to tell people how good you are. Like,
No,
right?
you just have to live it. You have to live it. And so one of the things, when you're in your 20s, you're trying to prove yourself. You got to build this house of cards that you can do
Yeah.
it. It was a challenge for me because being in commercial real estate when I was in my 20s, with the amount of money that you need to get started, and you need to raise money as a young man and do deals and support any overhead you have, whatever that is when you're younger, it's a real challenge. And so it's like you really have to uh, work on yourself and figure out, how am I going to get through? So now I become in my 30s and then my 40s and now my 50s. And so it's a process. Business is a process. Business is not a get rich quick scheme. You got to work at it, you got to improve. And every day you got to show up. I mean,
Yeah.
Jim, you have to show up every day or else you lose. And
Yeah.
so for me, uh, I don't take a lot of vacation time. I travel all over. And to get back to the working out thing, you want to talk about what helps you when you're traveling, the amount of traveling you do is working out. Working
Yeah.
out is just a tremendous asset if you are traveling out there for whatever position or job or industry you're in.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. It's funny because what you just said about like kind of just making that progression.
Mhm.
It's like you wouldn't, if you needed a surgery, like you said earlier, you wouldn't say like, hey, I want to go to the person that is the best at rebuilding a knee if I have to get my knee rebuilt or something
Yep.
like that. But I
Yep.
wouldn't say, you know what, let me figure out like what the best technique is. Like you would find the person that has years and years and years of training
Absolutely.
and education and experience, and where it's their passion, right? And so I really love that about what you're doing with real estate, commercial real estate, and the funds. And I remember just being impressed with the rate that the return, the IRR that you're generating for your clients, but more so been just your attitude about helping people. And really, you've given some great advice on just the whole, like looking at the big picture on your health and working out and everything else, because I promise you, the healthier you are, the more money you're going to end up making, the happier the relationships that you're going to have, the more confidence you're going to have, and you'll be able to not worry about whether you win or lose on a one deal, because you know that you're going to be able to push through. So, thank you so much for sharing everything. We're going to put in the show notes, everybody, like how to get a hold of Ben. But Ben, give me like the website and
Yeah.
one platform that they should go check out.
If you go to benreinberg.com, you can follow me on all the different social media platforms we're on. It directs you to our TV show. We have a webinar. You want to talk about hard money? We have a webinar tomorrow I'm giving in front of a ton of people. Feel free to go on. You want to subscribe to our newsletter, go to subscribetoben.com. People love it. It's a great business newsletter for not just commercial real estate, everything. We're
Yeah.
talking about a lot of cool things. We're talking about the Japanese yen last time in our in our newsletter about how that impacts what we're doing here. So really cool topics, things that maybe you didn't think about. And then if you want to go to alliancecgc.com, which is my company, if you're looking to invest with us and build wealth and invest in commercial real estate passively, go to benreinberg.com, alliancecgc.com. We give opportunities to fill out a form. We'll have someone, an expert, contact you from my office, and we'll show you how to build wealth for you and your family.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for being on, Ben. And always like I said, we could probably talk for hours and hours. So we'll have to do a sequel to the sequel sometime soon. But we're going to wrap this up, folks, like we do every episode with the incredible words of Earl Nightingale and The Strangest Secret. So take it away, Earl.
Here's the key to success and the key to failure. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about.
Thanks for listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to this show wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If you want to start increasing your wealth building ability right now, go to community.createtailwind.com to join our free online community and get access to free, in-depth training designed to help you build real, lasting wealth. See you next week.